Okay, good morning all, and welcome back to the online class in the subject supply chain management. So this online class is conducted for MBA semester 4 students in the subject supply chain management. This is Dr. Mahesh M. Onjeri, Assistant Professor from Department of Management Studies, SDM College of Engineering and Technology, Dharwad. So today we are going to continue with the discussion on chapter number 10 from Unit 6, Coordination in the Supply Chain. So before I make a beginning, okay. So I would like to read out a news from today's The Times of India, Hubballi edition. Okay, it is in the front page. So those who are following the news, okay, so you might already come across it. Government announces 1.63 lakh crore package for agriculture and allied sectors. It is the third installment in the overall package of 20 lakh crore rupees to boost the economy. So I repeat, government announces 1.63 lakh crore package for agriculture and allied sectors. There is a subheading, focus on post-harvest management. The government on Friday announced the 1.63 lakh crore package for agriculture and allied sectors aimed at strengthening infrastructure, logistics, capacity building at farm gate. So I repeat, aimed at strengthening infrastructure, logistics, capacity building at the farm gate. So we are talking about supply chain management or value chain here. And also, our Nirmala Sitharaman has also said that lack of adequate cold chain facilities and a post-harvest management infrastructure in the vicinity of farm gates is causing gaps in the value chain, she said. Okay. Now this is the news which is related to supply chain management directly with respect to agri produce or agricultural produce. Lack of adequate cold chain facilities and post-harvest management infrastructure in the vicinity of farm gates is causing gaps in the value chain. Okay, so when we say cold chain, so once the crop is harvested, okay, so most of the farm produce is perishable and it requires a cold storage. So we are talking about facilities. Okay, so it is nothing but a warehouse with cold storage where the farm produce can be preserved until it is transported or dispatched to the market. So what she says, Nirmala Sitharaman says is India has a lack of adequate cold chain facilities. Okay, so what is happening? So if the farm produce are not stored in cold storage, okay, due to their perishable nature, they are going to be destroyed. Okay, so a lot of farm produce is wasted every year in our country due to lack of cold chain storages, and these cold chain storages are actually required. So now we are talking about the availability of the facilities which is cold chain. And second point, she is talking about the location of the cold chain storages. The location of the cold storages or warehouse where the farm produce can be preserved. So though they are available, they are not in the vicinity of the villages or farmers. Okay, so whatever cold storages are available, okay, they are not near to the agriculture field or they are not near to the farmers. Okay, so this is the first point due to which a lot of farm produce is wasted. It dries up simply. And second aspect is talking about the value chain or supply chain is post harvest management infrastructure. Post harvest management infrastructure. So most of you are from okay agriculture background, so you should be able to understand it, and it should be very interesting for you to okay discuss this news. Okay, so the lack of okay post harvest management infrastructure. So what are the activities in post harvest? So once the crop is harvested, first thing it needs to be stored. Okay, so depending on the nature of the produce, so if it is a food grain, you need a regular warehouse. Okay, again, which should be free of rats. Okay. And the second type of warehouse is a cold storage for fruits and vegetables or for flowers. Okay, so this is the first thing. This is what is lacking. Facilities, that is warehouses, regular warehouses as well as cold storages. The second thing is the adequate transport facility from the farmers to the marketplace. And third thing, okay, for example, the farm produce which is perishable in nature like fruits, vegetables, flowers, may also require the insulated vans, means cold storage trucks like the one which carry ice cream if you have seen. Okay. So then third thing is, okay, the lack of marketing infrastructure. Okay, like studying the demand in the market. Okay, then connecting the farmers with the customers. So, okay, so that the farmers can get a fair price for their crop. Then again, once the crop or produce reaches the market, okay, proper distribution of the farm produce. So these all activities and lack of information to the farmers about the weather, scientific agriculture. Okay, so there are a lot of activities so which are involved in post harvest. Okay, so India lacks this post harvest infrastructure. So due to which, okay, the farmers don't get the proper price. The farmers are unable to gauge the demand in the marketplace. Okay, and a lot of farm produce or crop is wasted due to lack of warehousing or cold storages. Okay, so this is what we are talking. So she says lack of adequate cold storage facilities and post-harvest management infrastructure in the vicinity of farm gates is causing gaps in the value chain, she said. So in order to maximize the benefits, okay, out of this 1.63 lakh crore package, okay, the farmers or India needs to have adequate cold chain facilities as well as adequate post harvest management infrastructure. So you can look at the news. Okay, so supply chain management is not only associated with a company. Okay, so in the textbook most of the times we only study the example of corporates like Amazon, Flipkart, Dell. Okay, Big Bazaar, Reliance Retail, and so on. But supply chain is basically the backbone of any country as well, especially India is an agricultural country. Okay, and two-thirds of the India's population is lives in villages and engaged in agriculture. Okay, so looking at this massive percentage of people employed in agriculture, okay, the importance of value chain or supply chain increases to a greater extent. Okay, so supply chain management even required in case of agricultural and farm produce in India. Okay, so if you have any queries, you can ask me during the break, first break, which I'm going to give. Okay, so with that news discussion, so I'll move on to the remaining part of the chapter 10, coordination in the supply chain. So let us take a quick recap of what was covered in the previous classes. Okay, so it is lack of supply chain coordination and bullwhip effect. So how supply chain coordination improves, and for improvement of supply chain coordination, what is required? Then a lack of coordination results in what? What is bullwhip effect? What are the reasons for a bullwhip effect? What is the effect of bullwhip effect, or what is the effect of a lack of coordination on performance of a supply chain? What are the obstacles to achieve coordination in a supply chain? Then managerial levers to overcome the obstacles in achieving coordination. Okay, so far we have discussed four of the five managerial levers. Okay, they were aligning goals and incentives, improving information accuracy, so how a company can improve its operational performance, how a company can improve designing, okay, improve how a company can achieve coordination by designing pricing strategies to stabilize orders. Now, the last managerial lever to achieve coordination is building strategic partnerships and trust. So, today we are going to discuss the last managerial lever. So, I hope you are with me. So, we took a recap of what was discussed in the previous 4 classes. Okay, so the last managerial lever in achieving coordination in supply chain. Okay, building strategic partnerships and trust in a supply chain. So if you can recall the stages of the supply chain, like from supplier of raw materials, manufacturers, distributors, retailers, and consumers. So these are the different stages of a supply chain, and each stage, okay, is in each stage, okay, is a different party. Okay, like supplier of raw materials is a different legal entity, a separate company. Manufacturer is a different legal entity, it is a separate company. Distributors, okay, all are again third party intermediaries. Okay, so each of these partners in the supply chain, okay, are separate legal entities. They are separate or different companies. So each stage or each partner only looks at their individual profits and ignoring the overall goals of the supply chain, which is maximizing the overall supply chain profits. Okay, so to avoid that and bring in trust in the supply chain and enable the partners of the supply chain to come together and work in a coordinated manner and to secure that cooperation. So this managerial lever helps. So let us learn how this managerial lever brings the different stages of supply chain or partners together, secure cooperation, and try to achieve coordination in the supply chain. So managerial levers that help achieve better coordination fall into 2 categories. So the 5 managerial levers that we learned, they are broadly classified into 2. The first 4, that is information sharing, informational operational improvements, changing of incentives, and stabilizing of pricing. The first 4 managerial levers are action-oriented levers. Whereas the fifth managerial lever, that is the building of cooperation and trust within the supply chain, is a relationship-oriented lever. Okay, so it is a relationship-oriented lever. Hence, it is called building strategic partnerships and trust in a supply chain. So let us go ahead and discuss how strategic partnerships and trust are built in a supply chain. So there are designing a relationship with cooperation and trust. Okay, so how companies try to achieve, okay, develop that healthy relationship with cooperation and trust with each other. There are 2 phases to a supply chain relationship. So one is the design phase and another is management phase. So I learned the part of it. Okay. The design phases or design categories. Okay. Strategic, okay, planning and operational. Strategic is long term in nature, like it includes the design of the supply chain. Planning is generally done for 1 year. Then operational is almost day-to-day activities. So 2 phases of a supply chain relationship are design phase as well as management phase. Okay, so once the strategy design of the supply chain is finalized, planning is done, okay, and then the company focuses on day-to-day management of the activities. So that is the management phase. Okay. So the relationship has to be built, cooperation and trust has to be secured right from the design phase itself. So there are a couple of points here which we are going to discuss. Assessing the value of the relationship and its contributions. So what is the value of, okay, a supplier of raw material? What is the value of or role of a distributor? And what are the contributions, okay, that will be made by the different stages of the supply chain are assessed at this stage or phase. And second is identifying operational roles and decision rights for each party. So, what is the role of each stage in the supply chain, and what is the authority, okay, of each of the stages of the supply chain? What kind of decisions they are entitled to make? Okay, for example, a retailer should not make a decision of a sales promotion offer without informing the manufacturer, which we have learned, as it disrupts, okay, the smooth flow of the operations, and it results in fluctuation of the demand and results in bullwhip effect, creating effective contracts between the suppliers of raw materials and manufacturers, between the manufacturers and wholesalers, or between the manufacturers and retailers. And in case of okay, industrial marketing, even the contract is entered into between the manufacturer and the industrial customer. So the fourth point is the designing effective conflict resolution mechanisms. So during the management phase, if there are any conflicts arise between the partners or stages of supply chain, the company should have a policy for conflict resolution. So these 4 points we are going to discuss in detail, through which we are going to learn how a company builds strategic partnerships and trust in a supply chain. So we are moving on to the first point now. Assessing the value of the relationship and its contributions. Because each relationship may not be significant and it may not make equal contribution to the supply chain profit. So assessing the value of the relationship and its contribution becomes important and basic function. So identify the mutual benefit provided. Say for example, if it is a supplier of raw materials, so the company manufacturer can understand that without the raw materials, okay, manufacturing it cannot produce finished goods, and an increase in price of the raw materials will result in a decrease in the supply chain profits, as well as if okay, then identify the criteria used to evaluate the relationship. So whether the relationship will result in increase in overall supply chain profits. Okay, for example, if the company is plan considering to sell directly to the customer or through the retailers. So if by selling through retailers, if the supply chain cost can be minimized, then definitely it will increase the overall supply chain profits. Then important to share benefits equitably. Okay, so this is what the manufacturer or the company needs to understand, or this is the basic underlying assumption that the company should share the benefits equally with all stages of the supply chain. Only then trust can be built. And clarify contribution of each party and the benefits each party will receive. Okay. So what will be the contribution of supplier of the raw materials? Say for example, supply of raw materials, supply, okay, keeping the lead time to the lowest possible, so keeping the delivery cost to the lowest, okay, ensuring consistency in quality, controlling the prices. So these are some of the contributions what suppliers can manage, and what benefits each party will receive. So for example, a long-term contract to okay, receive or supply the raw materials with the manufacturer, okay, and on-time payment and other such benefits the supplier can receive. The second point is identifying operational roles and the decision rights for each party. So recognize interdependence between the parties. Okay. So definitely each the stages of the supply chain are interdependent. Okay. For example, the manufacturer is dependent on supplier of raw material for raw materials, as well as is dependent on distributors, okay, to supply to the retailers. So each stage in the supply chain or each party in the supply chain is dependent on each other. So there are two types of interdependence. One is sequential interdependence. Activities of one partner precede the other. So for example, supplier of raw materials supplies the raw materials to manufacturer. On receipt of raw material, the manufacturer manufactures finished goods and supplies to distributor. On receipt of the goods, distributor supplies to retailer. And on receipt of the goods, retailer sells to customer. So we call it sequential interdependence. Then reciprocal interdependence. The parties come together, exchange information and inputs in both the directions. Okay. So even for that matter, the manufacturer makes a demand forecasting. Accordingly, he schedules production. Okay. And he manufactures in bulk and supplies to the wholesaler and then to the retailer and then to the customer. But a reciprocal interdependence involves the parties, means supplier of raw materials, manufacturer, wholesaler, and retailers come together, exchange information and inputs in both the directions. So, for example, the manufacturer may consider the wholesalers and retailers, okay, into demand forecasting, as well as the demand forecasted information will be exchanged with the supplier of raw materials. So, this kind of a interdependence is called a reciprocal interdependence. Okay, so in case of Procter and Gamble and Walmart, reciprocal interdependence exists. In case of Dell and Intel, reciprocal interdependence exists. And in most of the other cases, like FMCG industries in India, it is sequential interdependence. Okay, the third point, okay, second point continues identifying operational roles and decision rights for each party. Sequential interdependence is the traditional supply chain form, which is found generally in okay, developing countries or less developed countries. And reciprocal interdependence is more difficult but can result in more benefits. So, as I said, okay, Dell by sharing its demand data with the Intel and Sony and its other suppliers, okay, enables the suppliers to be ready, okay, for the next order from the Dell, and these suppliers are unable to fulfill the order from the Dell, okay, on time. So the examples what I shared for reciprocal interdependence are Procter and Gamble and Walmart, as I said. So the operational roles, okay, the point that we are discussing, recognize interdependence between parties. There is a figure here which enables us to understand, okay, what is the interdependence between the different stages of supply chain. Okay, so we'll discuss that figure now. Effects of interdependence on supply chain profits. So it's the grid, 2 by 2 grid. So if you consider this, organization's dependence means manufacturer, low to high. Partners dependence means supplier of raw material or wholesaler or retailer, low to high. So organization's dependence, okay, will be very high. Okay, the organization or manufacturer's dependence will be very high on the partner if the partner is relatively powerful. If the partner is relatively powerful, say for example a small scale industry or a medium scale industry which is supplying to Walmart. So Walmart is, as I said, world's largest company. It's Fortune number one company. So I'm sorry. So I'm talking about the partner relatively being powerful. Yes. Okay. So for an organization, a small scale industry or a medium scale industry, an organization who is supplying to Walmart. Okay. So in that case, partner is the Walmart here, not organization. So partner is Walmart. Okay. Who sells the small scale industry and medium scale industries products, okay, through their, okay, large chain of retail stores. So Walmart is the partner here, and the small scale industry or medium scale industry is the organization. So the organization's dependence is too high on Walmart because partner, that is Walmart, is relatively powerful. So many a times I have shared you examples. There are many suppliers to Walmart, okay, who have a single customer, and that is Walmart itself. So imagine, okay, the dependence of that organization is too high or 100% on Walmart. And many a times it has happened since the suppliers are unable to control the prices, and Walmart has stopped giving orders to those organizations, and those organizations have literally closed down. Okay, so the partner like Walmart is relatively powerful or very powerful. So the organization's dependence on the partner will be very high in such case. And again, the organization's dependence will be very low. Okay, there is a low level of interdependence. Okay, so if the organization does not depend too much on the partner, okay, then organization's dependence will be very low. For example, okay, so in case of Hindustan Unilever Limited India, it is the undisputed market leader in FMCG industry. Okay, and for that matter, San Diego or United Spirits, okay, are the undisputed market leaders in liquor industry, and ITC the undisputed, okay, market leader in cigarettes. So if you can consider these organizations, So the retailers and wholesalers, okay, need such a company, okay, whose products are sold automatically in the market or very easily in the market. So the partners, okay, like wholesalers, retailers will be more dependent on the market leader, okay, like ITC, San Diego, United Spirits, okay, or Hindustan Unilever Limited. So the organization in this case are ITC, San Diego or United Brewery, United Spirits Limited, and okay, Hindustan Unilever Limited are organizations in this case, and their dependence on their intermediary is very low because of the low level of interdependence. Then, so partners dependence. So organization is relatively powerful. Okay, so organization, the example what I gave, okay, the example what I gave of ITC, United Spirits or San Diego, and okay, Hindustan Unilever Limited. That example was about this grid, where organization is relatively powerful. Okay, so this grid. Now, if you come to this grid, it is a low level of interdependence. Neither the organization nor the partner, okay, are much dependent on each other. So we come here where the low level of interdependence. Okay, so where the organization can sell through okay different channels, okay, and more or less all the channels equally contribute to the sales. Okay, so as well as the channel partners also have multiple company dealership. Okay, so in this such a case, okay, neither the organization nor the partner, okay, are highly dependent on each other. For example, pharmaceutical marketing in India. Okay, so generally, a pharmaceutical wholesaler, okay, takes the distributorship of multiple companies. So, in my experience, where I have seen there were distributors who had more than 10 to 15 company, and even I have seen distributors who had around a 20 company distributionship. Okay, so and each of these companies also, pharmaceutical companies, are also had multiple dealers within the same territory. Okay, so, in such a case, neither the distributor nor the pharmaceutical company are dependent on much dependent on each other. So there is a low level of interdependence. Okay, so that is one case, and the best situation, okay, which can create trust and achieve coordination within the supply chain partners is this grid, where the high level of interdependence exists between both organization as well as the partners. So this relationship is very effective, and the best example for this is Procter and Gamble and Walmart. Procter and Gamble is the world's largest packaged consumer goods company or FMCG company, and Walmart is the world's number one company. Okay, so they both depend on each other, okay, equally, okay, for best results. So the effect relationship between Walmart and Procter and Gamble is effective. Similarly, the relationship between Dell and Intel. So imagine, okay, Dell cannot manufacture computers without a Intel chipset, that is microprocessor. Okay, and Intel cannot succeed without selling its chipsets to computer makers like Dell. Okay, that's why the relationship between Dell and Intel is very effective. So this is the best scenario or best situation where okay strategic partnership can be built and trust can be achieved and coordination can be achieved in a supply chain. Okay, so from here we'll move on to the third point now. So after which I'm going to take some questions from you. Creating effective contracts. Okay. So create contracts. I means generally when a manufacturer appoints a distributor, so they enter into an agreement, which is called as a contract. Okay, or even when a company agrees to purchase raw materials from a supplier, they both enter into an agreement. So create these agreements or contracts that encourage negotiation when unplanned contingencies arise. So the best example is today's scenario, the outbreak of COVID-19, and it has disrupted the economies and supply chain all over the world. Okay, so there is definitely a contingency here. So create contracts, provisions in the agreement, okay, that encourage negotiation when unplanned contingencies arise. The trust should be maintained. It is impossible to define and plan for every possible occurrence. Okay, say for example, nobody expected this COVID-19 outbreak and its impact on economy and supply chains. But good relationships, okay, that allows trust can fill in the gaps in the contracts. But if there is a healthy relationship between the partners of the supply chain, so any such problems arising, okay, will be taken care normally, okay, without any disputes. So you can even remember even in your relationship as well. So if the relationship is a trusting, okay, and healthy, so even if there are any small disputes or arguments, okay, or some small problems, you can overcome in out of those problems very easily if your relationship is good with the other person. Or if the, but if the relationship is not good, even a small, okay, problem, okay, may result in a major problem. So then the last one, designing effective conflict resolution mechanisms. So, in spite of all these efforts and activities, conflicts are bound to happen. Okay, it may be due to the contingencies, unforeseen circumstances. So, when the conflicts arise, the company should have a policy for conflict resolution. So, let us discuss a couple of points related to conflict resolution mechanisms. Informal arrangements may eventually be formalized in later contracts. Say there is contingency now, there's a crisis now. So whatever good actions, good initiatives are going to be taken by the stages in the supply chain or partners in the supply chain, and if they bring down the situation to a normal, and if they stabilize the relationship between the partners of the supply chain, okay, the same activities or initiatives can be formalized later into the agreements, and the contract can be renewed. Initial formal specification of rules and guidelines for procedures and transactions had to be laid in the contract. And regular and frequent meetings to promote communication. Okay. Frequent meetings between the suppliers and manufacturers and intermediaries is required, okay, to maintain that trust and healthy relationship and to promote communication. If there is communication gap, again there will not be trust in the supply chain. And the courts or other intermediaries, if okay, situation got worst, and if the parties or partners in the supply chain end up blaming each other, and arbitration also plays. Arbitration is out of the court settlement. So in such a case, there is no other way other than applying to the court, okay, in the court of justice. Okay, so this is how a company tries to manage and build strategic partnership and trust in the supply chain, and thereby trying to achieve coordination. Okay, so I'm going to unmute you now. So if you have any queries related to the syllabus covered or even with the news discussed, okay, kindly ask your question. Yes, any questions from students? Either on the fifth managerial level, building strategic partnerships and trust in the supply chain, or about the news which I discussed from Times of India. So, okay, since yes, any questions? Okay, so since semester one, day one, class one, okay. Always I have told you people to read, make a habit of reading newspapers, business related news. Okay, so there is always news which is related to your subjects. Okay, and the knowledge of the current business news, okay, enhances your knowledge and your ability to interpret. And you can make a relation, a connect, or you can connect the classroom sessions to the corporate. Anyway, okay. So students are silent. Okay, it looks like there are no questions. So in that case, with your permission, another 1.5 minutes is remaining. I'll continue, and after 10 minutes, immediately I will begin the last session. Okay, that will be the last class of supply chain management. Okay, so I'm going to mute you all again. Okay, so managing supply chain relationships. Okay, the last part of it, like a conclusion. Presence of flexibility, trust, and commitment in both the parties strengthen the relationship. Okay, so you can even Consider this from your personal life point of view. Presence of flexibility, trust, and commitment in both the parties always strengthen the relationship. Good information sharing and a good conflict resolution mechanism always comes into help. It enables you to understand each other properly, both the partners, and a good conflict resolution mechanism can minimize the damage in the relationship. Then mechanisms that maintain transparency. Okay, the companies are required to maintain mechanisms or perform activities in such a way where transparency can be maintained. Again, it